Perfect. So I guess we can start just kind of introducing ourselves and everything like that. Just who you are, where you're from.
You mean like a brother's page?
Yeah, kind of.
You start.
Oh, what do you want from me?
Just your name. Where did you go to school and everything like that?
You want me to identify who I am?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm Milton and Bliss, and this is my son, Brian. I'm a retired music professor from NC State. I arrived here in 1963. At that time, the department was very small. It consisted of actually two head directors and one clarinet teacher. So I was the fourth person added to the faculty in 1963. At that time, the institution was known as simply State College. State College, not the University of North Carolina at Raleigh, but State College. There were roughly 4,500 students, faculty and student alike wore coat and ties, and the students all carried a slide rule hooked to their belt. So if you got on the campus, you'd see all these students walking around with jackets and ties and slide rules attached. So I say it that way because the school has changed so dramatically since 1963. So that was the setting when I got here, and my job was to assist I was the assistant glee club director and the assistant band director, and my main job was to start a music appreciation course, which I did. I was the first to teach a classroom at NC State. So that's why I came there. And I came from the high schools in North Carolina. I was the first choir director, the music director at Page High School in Greensboro. So I came from to Raleigh from Greensboro from Page High School. So that's why I arrived here, complete with my two sons and my wife Gerdine, and we were in business. So that got me to NC State, and of course I retired in 19. Good Lord. I think it was 89 when I retired early at age 62. So
Yeah, it's like after I graduated. He says,
that's right.
No more tuition to pay.
Right.
can retire.
We left at the same time, so and we arrived at the same time too. I hadn't thought of it like that. So, but that's where I am today. I'm retired, obviously, but I've been living in this place since my wife at that time was Peggy, and we bought this place in the year I retired in 1989. So and I've been here ever since. So that's where I am. So what else you want to know about me? So.
Well, awesome. How did you become involved with Mu Beta Psi?
Well, that's very interesting because I was a member of a professional fraternity at UNC called Phi Mu Alpha. That's the honorary fraternity for music majors.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't aware that NC State had a music fraternity at first. I guess a month or two, I met some of the students who identified and said they were from the Mu Beta Psi, the chapter of the honorary fraternity at NC State. But here's the difference. The fraternity at Carolina, UNC, was all music major, either vocalist, piano major, instrumental major, full of pedagogy and research. The doctorate there was basically a musicology degree, which just about everybody was seeking. I was not. I was there to be a performer, and I was in the School of Education and the music department there. But wasn't too long after I got to NC State that State College had a music fraternity, and it was honorary, but it was for interested music students, and So that was the first big difference, was the makeup of the fraternity was.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
How did the fraternity do it? Did they just come up to you and say, "Would you like to be an honorary brother?" Or they tap you in, or
Well, the president, I've forgotten who it may have been Walter Richardson, I'm not sure, but said, "Mr. Bliss," said, identified himself and said, "I would like you to meet our chapter and let us know if we can help you." And of course, I remember that phrase. He said, "Can I help you in any way since you're new here?" I said, "Thank you very much." And but then Curtis Craver, the woodwind instructor, he was a faculty representative to the chapter of Mu Beta Psi. So I didn't know of what you did until the first concert, and then I saw all these students coming in. They began loading equipment up to a truck because we were going to. That was my first clue as what Mu Beta Psi does. They were not just an honorary fraternity. They really helped physically to move the program along. They would set up the concert areas and very helpful. And that's the key word, I think. The fraternity was an adjunct. They did stuff. They took a lot of load out of us when we prepared concerts, and they did all the heavy work. So that was my first introduction. Then later on, I got to know some of the members through under the glee club I was directing. And so, I forgot to tell you, there was only one choral group, but it was gigantic. It had about 140 singers in it. So the director split it up. I took 40 of the people, and Perry, Dr. Watson, took the other 60. And that was the varsity men in the glee club, and my smaller group was called the collegiate glee club. So, of course, that all changed in 1967. Perry asked me to take over the varsity at that year, and so that's what I did ever since, in addition to my other duties. So I had a sort of an apprenticeship for about 4 years under Perry. So that pattern held true all the way up to the time I retired, because through the years we kept adding people, and by the time I left, we'd added 4 or 5 other faculty members, and so we were still small, but we had 8 or 9 faculty members. Of course, today they're up 12, 15, I don't know the exact number they have today. Mm-hmm. But
of course, this was back at that time at State in the 60s. It was still an all-male university.
That's right.
So there weren't any female brothers.
Now, we did have a little ragtag women's chorus, and they were made up of secretaries, and we had a little program for nurses there. So we had a little sort of a struggling neophyte type of women's chorus. Maybe 18 or 20 young ladies, and Don Adcock, one of my cohorts, directed that little group. In fact, my first published piece was written for that little girls' chorus, women's chorus. But we had the ladies there, but the big influx of the ladies in 1974, when we had co-eds on the campus. That changed the whole scene, of course, and then it became a true university because we added a School of Liberal Arts. That because we were known as primarily as a technical school, but with the advent of the Liberal Arts School of Liberal Arts, we became in the broader sense a university. So that was probably the biggest change in the whole structure as far as music and the total curriculum was concerned, was bringing that department in. And Dr. Bill Toole became the first liberal arts director of that school. So, and that's where we got your department.
That's right.
The School of Communication was part of that advent also. So from the slide-toting guys with the ties on, we turned to the blue jeans like I'm wearing nowadays, and even the faculty.
The old pictures are great of all of them from the music department. Don Adcock, Perry Watson, they all have crew cuts, dark jackets, and these little narrow ties. It's just so funny to see the pictures, how How straight and narrow they all look from back then.
Yeah, so, Brian is a former president of New Beta Psi, and he was also took care of our building for us. He was in charge of security at night in the building and looking after that thing.
Building attendant. I don't know if they still have them or not.
They do.
Yeah.
So that's the groundwork, and of course in between I started 3 academic courses. Then I instituted the first vocal techniques class, and so I did all the classroom teaching until we added several more faculty, and then we spread that out more. And of course today it's you can get a music minor at NCC, not a major but a minor, and we can accredit the teachers who are going into early education, the lower grades. They can get their music requirement off at NC State. So, seen a lot of growth in the department, and but we were never classified as an academic because we were under student affairs. That's because what the nature of our offerings were. We served a lot of students, so our titles were something that visiting adjunct assistant professor. That was our title.
That was the odd thing back then, that the music department wasn't an official like the engineering department. It was part of student affairs. So now it was Banks Talley and Henry Bowers were the administrative people, and they were like, not like but Perry Watson, he was really the department head back then.
Yeah. So we were always. We were a little bit miffed because we wanted to be the trappings of, so they gave us that's our title. Our other title is we were all called music directors. And then I assumed another one. I became director of choral activities. I got another title later on. So it's funny how we're all concerned with titles and how we're classified.
We were talking about Price Music Center before you got here, and how when they opened Price, they had these great, huge offices. I mean, Dad had this big office, and they were all soundproofed, and all you guys had all you guys had brand new upright pianos.
It was every bit as big as this room.
It was the regular office now, but one person those offices though. That was neat.
Well, to make more space, they cut our big rooms in half, and so my big old office now could hold two
It was always fun as a kid going to Price up to Dad's office. That the big heavy door, and you shut the door, and it's all just so quiet in there. Yeah, it was neat.
I love the building, but it's outmoded too. Like the growth is long past its intended capacity. So. Well, they'll either have to go up or go down. I don't know which way they're going to increase that building. But the big thing that happened in 1965 was the building we were in burned to the ground. And it was a former infirmary, a former classroom building, and an auditorium, and the dining room was in it. So that was our building. But then in 1971, we were delighted to get a new building. So it took that long to get a new building. So, and since that time, there's been not rapid growth, but one thing that hasn't changed, we had tons of students. Thank goodness. We had far more participating students than say University, North Carolina or East Carolina. We had more students involved with our music programs than any of those other institutions. So we were very proud of that. So it's I've still maintained my relationship. I go over, talk with my former buddies, and I'll occasionally I'll do some substitute teaching, and so I did, and I am emeritus, so that's so I'm still involved, but I'm not directly. But since that time, I've been very busy. Well, you see, running and having fun around the nation with my wife and I as runners, and then and I've turned to. I always composed music even while I was at NC State, but
Dad's still writing.
yeah, yeah, I'm still writing it, and I've had an opportunity to publish a dozen items or so. But I planned it that way. I said I want time to write, and then also I wanted time for the running.
Hey, Dad, go back and talk about the fire. I remember
Oh God!
you would tell us how the phone rang and it's Perry saying, "Get to the building. It's on
he
fire."
said, get over there. Our building's on fire. Because I just lived about a half mile from the building. It's on Van Dyke Street, which is near.
Were we on Dixie Trail at that point or Van Dyke?
Van Dyke, yeah.
Okay.
No,
we were on Dixie Trail.
Dixie Trail when
Yeah.
he called me, but by the time the building was built, we had moved over closer to the campus. So.
But my grandmother gave Mom and Dad a baby grand piano as a wedding gift, and it was in Dad's office in Pullen. Everything was lost. That piano too.
Yeah, the insurance gave us money, but we could only afford a little old stand-up thing. It wasn't a big grand piano like
baby grand, but still though.
Baby grand. So. But the fire was done by a depraved pyromaniac, a student. And he stuffed rags and stuff down through in the walls of the building and lit it and walked off. He was later hospitalized at one of the care institutions. I don't know where.
Yeah, for a long time he was finally caught. He was setting a lot of fires across campus.
He's a firebug.
And Pullen was probably one of the worst, but he, I think they put him away in Dick's Hospital for a long time.
And he set maybe half a dozen smaller fires.
Yeah.
His masterpiece was our building.
But that building also had all the fraternity records and things too.
One thing it did do, we got all new equipment out of the insurance money, and enough money we tripled our music library just with the insurance money. So it had a bright side. We got a building out of it. So secretly we were glad it happened because nobody was hurt. So we got all new equipment, and when we did get in the building, we had resurrected our library, so the stuff we read our music from and everything. So, and it's experienced nothing but growth since that time. So the fire was a blessing in disguise. We hated it because it was so traumatic, but the phoenix rising from the ashes.
Where I remember that the department moved around a lot because they had no official place. They were like gypsies, and they rehearsed for a while in Thompson. And I remember as a kid going to Thompson, seeing band or choir practice, and all the giant wooden lockers you see at Price. They were all originally in Thompson Theater, Thompson Gym. And that's where everything was stored, 'cause that's where everyone rehearsed and all. And then Dad's office was in King Religious Center.
Yeah, right. And that's where I wrote the Spirit of New Beta Psi in King Religious Center.
Okay.
And that building's gone too.
Yeah,
but it was near where the design school is now.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of that building.
Yeah, we were right above the old Riddick Stadium, the old football stadium, which they turned into a parking lot. Now they've got buildings on the parking lot now, so all that stuff is gone now. So.
When you did marching band, were you in? You did some games at Riddick, didn't you? When they still played football there.
The first season, because 3 years. We did all of our shows, and the football games were in Riddick Stadium.
Okay, and then
on campus,
and then Carter Stadium.
Right
after that.
And we were glad to see that huge stadium built because that's when we got big time football arrived at NC State. So a lot of change. So it's been a wonderful ride.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of growth.
That's right.
When you wrote "Hail the Spirit," did anybody ask you to do it, or you just?
I heard one of them say something that it didn't have a song. I don't know. I think it was Walter Richardson.
Was it someone in Me Best I come up to you, or was there a national person that said, "Would you write this?" Or do you remember?
For some way I found out they didn't have a song. I said, "Well, God, every fraternity has a song, at least one." So I said, I didn't say anything. I just wrote one. I made up the words, and of course added the music to the words, and that's what you see on the sheet here. So, so that's my second contribution to the fraternity. I gave them probably their finest president. So. You do agree with that, don't you, son?
Well, I won't deny it.
Of course.
So, what did you do? Are you in one of the musical organizations?
I am marching band. I play piccolo. I'm a music minor as well. I'm a liberal arts focus. So.
You know, you can hear the piccolo above a 600 marching band, but you can hear one piccolo playing. It's up there. So.
I think we're gonna have 30 this year too,
Wow.
out of 300. So it's a good 10.
Well, we were so proud of our 175. We were the biggest band in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Mm-hmm.
It stayed that way. I think all the bands now have big bands, 350 people and that sort of thing. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's always fun that Dad was an assistant because me and my brother would go to games. So when we were little kids and all, we were going to games with the marching band, and we'd always sit in the very back. And it was always a lot of fun being around all the students.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, a little bit of notoriety there. Oh, yeah, my dad, marching band this day.
Well,
So we got to go to a lot of games.
Yeah. Well, I love the games. We went to all of them. One thing about it, they took the band everywhere. We went to bowl after bowl because we had good coaches and good teams at that time, and we were highly sought. We won a lot of bowl games, including we went to the Blue Bonnet Bowl, and
And that the tradition of the fraternity always supplying apples. I remember it even back then. The fraternity giving out apples at football games during halftime. I don't know if they do that, but that was one of the jobs they was to supply. Something nutritious.
Yeah.
We got to Houston, pouring the rain, and Don and I, my friend Don, who was the marching band. I was the assistant and the arranger. I did most of the arranging for the band. Guy came up and says, "Mr. Adcock, Mr. Bliss, here's your car key." He handed us each a key to a car. So we had the use of the car from the Chamber of Commerce. We were playing.
That was the Astro Bluebonnet Bowl, right?
Yeah, the Bluebonnet Bowl was in Houston. But those Texans treated us royally. And they gave us Omega watches. We all had these expensive watches. So.
Wow.
I mean, they just got treated royally. We heard all the stories. They kept back and said, "Wow, they did this, and this." I mean, it was a big deal.
But all the games were interesting. But that one I remember because the very lavish attention we were paid by it was the athletics club of Houston University. Their alumni. They had enough alumni. They gave us the cars and the watches and everything. Those Texans do it right. So.
Yeah, it seems like it.
So that's my odyssey, and today I still am torn between my alma mater and my workplace. So somebody asked me about that. Said, "Well, you want me to go against my mother?" I consider my alma mater my collegiate mother. So, but other than that, I'm a Wolfpack fan, true and true. But I'll say this: the students at NC State were more goal-driven. There were a lot more partying going, I felt, at Carolina than it was at NC State. Of course, I was in on a lot of that myself as a student, but so I'm a product of both institutions, and very proud to be a member of both the alumni associations. So.
That's awesome. About how many, pieces have you published?
Published about a dozen, just all of them are choral things. I've got a couple of things now under consideration, so I may get something. But that wasn't why I was writing, because I knew that I was never going to make a living writing music, but I could write, so I do it adjunctively. So but it's paid off. I've made some money from it, but that wasn't why I write it. I just enjoy it. And, I'm good enough at it that I can get some things published, but I certainly enjoy doing it. So, but I never got paid for writing music. It's all for the stuff I did in the department. So. And I made sure I didn't do it on company time too.
But still, I mean, just reason you wrote for the Cardinal Singers.
Yeah.
In Raleigh.
Yeah. Oh, here I am. I'm an honorary cardinal. There again.
That's right. They made him an honorary member.
Oh, that's awesome.
All ladies, all of them elderly. By elderly, most of them are over 60. There's a few 40s and 50s, but most of them are over 60.
And the Carolina Clarinet Group.
Yeah, I have a quartet called Carolina Clarinet. It's soprano, alto, tenor, bass, clarinet. And I love writing for them. So, in fact, probably the best thing I ever wrote was one of the pieces I wrote for that quartet. So.
Oh yeah, they've done the stuff he wrote for them and something else where they commissioned you to. Is it Nephi Nofa you adapted for them?
Yeah, I wrote.
Or did you write something original? I can't remember.
I wrote a piece for the string section of the orchestra, and I called it something for strings. But the director turned it down. He said it was too hard or something. So I took it, and in the meanwhile, Brent Smith, one of the professors in the School of Textiles,
He's part of Carolina Clarinet.
Yeah, and he was the lead clarinet guy. And he said, "Would you write us a piece?" And of course, we were both exercising in the gym. We were both on the bicycle talking. And I said, sure. So I took that orchestral piece and turned it for 4 clarinets. And it became, I think, probably the best thing I've ever written with that. It's called Nephi Nofa. So I'm still active.
But wasn't it also a choral piece, though, for the Glee Club, though, wasn't it?
No, it was never a choral piece. I wrote a lot for the Men's Glee Club, tons of stuff.
Or maybe I'm getting mixed up with Raven Days you wrote for the Glee Club.
Yeah, well, Raven Days.
See, Dad wrote a lot of stuff
Tower
for the Glee Club and other groups.
Yeah.
Was it Tower Babel? I'm getting
Center
mixed up with.
Man,
Right.
that was staged in Stewart. That was one of my favorite pieces, Center Man. So. Remember Ray stepping out from...
Yeah.
Ray stepping out, Center Man, Center Man.
Well, I sang in the Glee Club when I was in state.
Right, yeah.
So.
But it's fun at NC State. I like the spirit there. And it's, I think it's the finest technical school in the country, personally. I mean, short of MIT, of course. That's where all the really brilliant, the best of our technical people go to MIT and those places, but State's right up there with them, though. And it's a necessary institution for this state. We have a lot of agricultural people who go out every day to the farmers in East Carolina and West Carolina, and our engineering school is top rate. School of Architecture is top rate. Engineering. All top flight. Veterinary school, that came in while I was there. So we're sprawled all over the place now. Have you seen the new library over at Centennial yet?
It's beautiful.
Yeah, oh, it is.
Inside and out.
I haven't been inside it yet. That's one of the things I'm going to do.
You should. It's wonderful. It's not unlike any other library you've ever seen before.
Yeah, right. So, well, that's my odyssey, and I've loved every minute of it. So, but You Beta Psi has been a vital part of that. It really has. So.
Awesome.
And it's to your credit that you aren't just an honorary. You do something for people, you know. So, and I always love signing your paddles and things. So, did you bring yours today?
You don't need a paddle soon, Shay.
Carry it around with you.
No, we'll bring more people by though, definitely.
Well, every now and then, every semester or so, some folks come by, some years,
Yeah, I have to sign paddles still. So, but
and Dad signed mine.
But it's a beautiful organization. Don't estimate how the good that you do, because Frank, you did stuff that we couldn't do. At least we couldn't do it as well as the fraternity could do it, because you had muscular guys and interested people that they loved the department, and we loved them too.
Well, how big is the fraternity now nationally?
Nationally,
or like chapter wise,
we have 7 active chapters.
Great.
At state, we have about 20 to 25 active members. We just keep floating around there. Most chapters are about that size too. So, and one of the chapters is an alumni association, so that one's pretty large, I guess. Whoever's active at the time.
Did you ever go to some of the other schools, the chapters? I remember going to Clemson. They had a very active chapter. Georgia Tech had and they took a piece. They bought the music to Raven Days, a piece I wrote for my Glee Club. It's published, and they sang it for me at the National Convention. They sang Raven Days. The Georgia Tech Glee Club sang it, so I was pleased with that. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, convention's going to be in Raleigh next year, isn't it?
It is.
Oh boy!
Oh, great. Well, you got to go, because the last time here was in Raleigh. Dad and we all went. And that was really nice. You got a really great reception from.
Oh, they have another song. They do have one more song.
All right, you wrote us a sweetheart song.
Yeah. Also, no, one guy came up and said, "Do you know this song?" He says, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." So that's the whole chapter saying, the one we had at the Velvet Cloak.
Right, yeah.
"You are my sunshine."
Oh.
So you do have another song.
Well, I just thought it was neat. All these people ran up to Dad and said, "Here, sign my book," and all this stuff. So it was really neat.
Yeah, I'm actually planning national convention this year, so definitely be in contact again. I'd love for you guys to come.
What's your curriculum like now?
For convention or?
No, I meant what is your major now?
I'm a public health major. So
that allows you to do what professionally?
I have a lot of options, luckily. I want to work with more regulatory agencies, kind of like the CDC type of stuff.
Well, I hope it makes a lot of money for it.
I hope so too. We'll see. Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens. I've got a year to figure it out.
Do you like going to state?
I do. State, I think, probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Well, it's a great school. It really is. And, I don't think it's any better technical school than NC State. Maybe MIT gets more of the doctoral program, but State has its shining lights, I'll tell you. And they're always well prepared. So
there's definitely a feeling on NC State's campus that you don't get anywhere else.
Now, if y'all don't have a couple, I got 2 of these for you. What I did.
Oh, okay. Well, I know I have one somewhere
You
too.
do? If you don't have it, you can take it and give it to somebody else.
Why don't you autograph Ashley's?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally have it memorized. We sing the song after every single meeting that we have. We sing it as a chapter together.
And when you join as a pledge, part of your assignment is to learn Hail the Spirit.
But
and
let
then,
me tell you how I wrote it this way.
Yeah.
I wrote it like it was a barbershop quartet, because I knew that
A
men were going to
TTBB?
be singing it. So,
yeah.
if the women are there, all the women can sing the melody. The melody, I put it in the first tenor voice. So when the men sing it, you hear 4 parts. But when women join, they can't sing bass. Some of them can sing tenor. So I wrote it so that the gals would have a line to sing. So I don't know how to do it when you sing it.
I think someone arranged it in an SATB version.
Yeah, okay. But I wrote it this way for that reason, because I knew that eventually they would have the gals. And I said, well, Carolina has tons of songs, because they're all music majors over there writing stuff all the time. So I wrote it in the barbershop style, it's probably my shining hour as a composer. No, it was designed just for what it is. It's to reflect how you feel about it.
has that special meaning
Of course.
to the fraternity, really.
That's the reason you have a fraternity song, is to reflect the spirit and intent of your organization. So it was a labor of love, and it was always been much appreciated. So. And I lost my original manuscript after I looked
It's
around.
probably somewhere at Price, though, I think.
It might be. So I discovered I did have somebody put it in this form. I don't know who that was. But
Yeah, because this is the same thing they handed out
Yeah,
when I was active.
I think
The
that is
exact
the
same thing.
sheet there. So at least I got a copy of it back, and I don't know where my original is. I probably threw it away. It's a fit of.
Well, the other day there was a thread on the national page with Nathaniel They were talking about A.M. Fountain and the writing of the Almar for NC State. And in fact, I told them that the chapter used to go over there. Alfie used to go over there and visit him at least once a year. He and his wife.
Dr. Fountain was a grand gentleman and used to come to all of our concerts.
Oh yeah, he usually every year he come to the fraternity annual banquet. And, he and his wife were just adorable.
Did you know that song used to be 3 times as long as it is?
Oh yes, we learned
it down to the size that you.
Because that was another assignment in the fraternity. That you had to sing several verses of the Almar, not the abridged version.
Oh, it went on and on and on. It's like
yes.
The fraternity donated a huge framed version of that. It's hanging up in Price. It's got all 4 parts.
Yeah.
It's donated from eBay to side. It's really cute.
Oh yeah, and they had a picture up there. I hadn't been in that building in years, but went through there and said, "Oh, there it is," and there's a picture of Daddy Price up there.
But I've had a ball. I'd like to do it all over again, but I can't. Tempus fugit. And it goes all too swiftly. It really does. You haven't asked me how old I am.
How old are you?
I'm 89.
Nice.
I'm trying to. My buddy Hank has reached 90 this year, so I got to catch up with him. This is one of my college roommates. He's also a composer, and a very famous one, as a matter of fact. So Hank and I I wrote him a letter. I said, opened the letter. It says, Hank, Mozart couldn't do it. Schubert couldn't do it. Schumann couldn't do it. Keats couldn't do it. And Stravinsky could do it, and so did you. I said, you have reached the slippery slope of 90. So wrote him a little letter about it. He beat me there by 6 months or so.
But you and Hank were college roommates at Carolina.
Well, we lived in the same rooming house, and I was half the time I was over at Hank's place. He kept a bottle of not Jack Daniels, Old Charter. When he wrote music, he'd sip his Old Charter and write a little bit. And every night he'd give me a slug of that, and I would drink. All collegians drink beer, so I would drink beer. But that's the first whiskey I'd ever tasted was Hank's Old Charter. So you've never heard that story?
No.
But Hank could sit up there writing, and he's doing a thing called Joe Palmer's Beard. That was his master's thesis. He never got his doctorate. But Joe Palmer's Beard was about a guy who grew beard. It's something to do with his beard, but he'd sit there, have his sketch, his paper, his sketch and stuff, and I went, "What the hell is he doing that?" I was just a budding music student at that time. He was a graduate student. But Hank was in the Naval Reserve. He had to go to meetings all the time when he was at.
Oh yeah.
He was in ROTC. Also at Florida State and at Carolina. So, yeah, Hank knows my family. That
Hank Beebe and Hank, Nancy, and all their kids. They live up New England.
They live in Portland, Maine. Yeah.
One of Dad's many great colleagues and a great musician, neat guy.
So we had all my compatriots were veterans coming back from the war, as I was. We all were on the GI Bill. So
I was thinking of some of all your colleagues at State. Was Perry Watson still head of the department when you were retiring? I can't remember.
We retired the same year.
Okay.
Perry and I both.
That's right.
My head of department, we retired the same year, so it left a vacuum there.
Mm-hmm.
So Bob Petter's stuff came filled in the gaps until we got a permanent guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who's there now because they've changed again somewhere.
Mm-hmm. We just got a new department head a month ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know who it is? It's not Scarce, is it?
No, it's not Scarce. His last name is Monick, Dr. Monick.
Oh, they did get another man.
Yeah, he just got him. He just started. I think that he's going to do a really good job.
Yeah, well, I think I better get over there and introduce myself because I'm the last one.
Mm-hmm.
All those other guys are dead now.
Well, Bob Peters is still alive.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but he wasn't the original. He came.
Oh,
came
yeah,
later.
right, yeah.
But the original, there were four of us.
You, Don Adcock, and Mr.
Don,
Watson.
Perry, and
Right.
Curtis,
Mr. Craver,
have
right.
died. Yeah, they're all dead. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Mr. Craver is faculty or faculty advisor.
Yeah, he was the
back when I was
advisor for
active.
the UBSI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
he passed away my freshman year.
Yeah, he did a lot for the fraternity, and
He wrote a history. Well, I've got it over my
the history of the
pictures and
department,
everything.
yeah.
You know, so that was his contribution. He's a hell of a woodwind teacher. God, he could play anything. So.
Mm-hmm.
But and one of his students, founded the Carolina Clarinet thing, and he was a student of Curtis. So that was a tie-in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I better write a book.
Yeah.
That's right. It'd be a big chapter there. The
Yeah.
NC State years.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
The NCU. But no, I have no idea. But I had a marvelous time. I became, if I'm anything, it blossomed and matured at NC State. So
Mm-hmm.
I was there 26 years on the job, and then I kept going over there even after I
Mm-hmm.
kept my locker at the gym and everything. So I hung around.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't get rid of me that quick. So it's been a pleasure, and I wish you luck on your project. So,
Or is there any other specific things you want to touch on? Or
You actually hit like almost every single question I had without me even having to ask you.
Oh, good.
Wow.
I was like, I'm going to ask you about Pullen Hall, and then you just talked about Pullen
Oh,
Hall,
yeah.
which was
Okay.
very easy for me.
Because I remember that I was really little, but I vaguely remembered it and what a big event it was and how. And then I really remember there was moving around and the building opening. Yeah, that was something else.
It was a change. The fire, as awful as it was a blessing in disguise. And,
Mhm.
we all knew that. And
If there hadn't been a fire, there wouldn't have been a wonderful Price Music Center.
that's right. You would maybe still in Pullen Hall with its rickety halls and big old, the windows about the size of this room.
Oh yeah, it was a.
Big old.
You look at the archives; it was a huge building. It was like the auditorium for the university at that time.
The parking lot to what's the name of the building where all the offices are? Not
Peel Hall, I think, and
one
Holiday.
right next door.
Yeah, it's next door to Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
And that, that little building there.
Oh, right, the small one. Yeah, I know where you're talking. Primrose.
Primrose, there's a parking lot. And that parking lot is where the building was. And it was a huge, 3-story building, big old windows. And but it used to be the dining room. It used to be the place where they met, had convocation. All the students could get in there at that time. So it was a very historic building. So
There was a story one of the older brothers had heard. Like when I was active, there was a bunch of older brothers that were still around. And a group before them told a story how after the fire, they held some initiation ceremonies around some of the ruins of the building just to make things very spooky and eerie. They did some initiation events. I'm not sure how legal it was back then, but
I didn't know that. So.
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah, it's just, traditions and things change over the years, and that's what I like about fraternity now is seeing them on Facebook and say, well, it's good to see they're still active and still doing things and still having a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. We really enjoy it. Did you pledge because you were involved with Mi Beta Psi, or did you just pledge on your own?
It was on my own. Again, there were a couple of guys in the Glee Club had pledged, and I had thought about it, and then I was thinking about some of my friends in Glee Club were all like, "Well, we all ought to go." So
Yeah, they became a solid core of the group. There's always groups that sort of arise out of bigger groups, and you had your bunch.
Yeah. I was at spring break one year, and in fact, it was Ray Klein was with us. Me, Alan, a whole bunch of people down at Atlantic Beach, and Ray pulled out his book, and he was studying his book during spring break, and he wouldn't tell us anything about it. I said, well, you're really not supposed to look at it, so he was keeping it a secret and all. Just well, this is what it is. Okay, that's the first time I saw a fraternity book. Of course, they were different. They were the small 3-ring binder type, that's like 4x6. Yeah, they're much. Yeah, a little easier to keep track of. But that's how I got started. Just
how many do you have in the chapter now?
I think we have about 25 active right now.
That's about
stayed
about the same.
I think there was 1 or 2 years we had a huge pledge class that had like 20 people, and it overwhelmed the brotherhood. It's like, we can't control them. They're running us. It got to that point where they were having secret meetings left and right, and we couldn't catch them. So they finally let it slip to us, and we got to bust them. But they were a really good class, and they were very tight, and we were outmatched.
Yeah.
That is outnumbered.
Well, you had a lively bunch, I'll tell you. We knew you were there. we knew there was a Bliss faction.
Well, it was a time of change before I got there, because they were trying to change the direction of the fraternity, kind of change it from its past and its old habits to get rid of some of those things that people might have liked, that might have scared people off from joining. So it's kind of like my class was right at that change where, we need to leave some of this old stuff behind and be a little more modern and, keep the fraternity, on a good path. And the numbers had really dwindled at one point till it was like the class or so before us really started to change things and it started to build things up in a more positive direction.
What year did you pledge?
Oh gosh, I was thinking the other day it was either fall of '83 or fall of '84.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Brian liked college. He spent a few years there.
Yeah, I hung around a while.
I understand.
But that building that was named after him, so. No. But no, he had a wonderful ride at NC State and got his degree with the School of Communication.
Communications, yeah.
And Larry was an English major.
Right, and that's my older brother. He graduated in '78.
Larry had wrote a column called Blissful Ignorance.
So he wrote for a technician.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. That was his claim to fame.
And my mom worked in the library estate, so the whole family was on campus at one time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So we've left our mark. How deep a mark we made, I don't know. But I suspect
if you want to know if you want an example of how things move and how things get done at the university and through the chapter, when I was active, there was a motion put forth, let's get the university, because other chapters, other fraternities have been doing it. And so, we want to get on this too, and that was to put the fraternity's letters in bricks. So back when I was active, that's when we had a motion to get that started. And it seems like, just a couple of years ago, it finally happened.
So what happened was when Tally was renovated, they ripped up the bricks
Yeah.
that were put down. I was president at the time. So I had to have a huge fight with the university to get them put back.
Wow. You did get them put back?
They're back now. Yeah,
Wow.
now it's written in email and in writing that they're going to stay there. But yeah, they ripped them up and put plain red bricks right back down. They're like, we'll fix it when Price is renovated. There's no plans for Price to even be renovated.
That sounds like a typical university move right there.
Brian was president that day. Your reign was very...
I was president for 1 year, and I was also pledge master and chairman of Brothers Court. No, the Rules Committee. But yeah, just dealing with that, the big deal to the administration all. When I was lucky, we didn't have anything nothing like that we had to really deal with, except one year, it was the company that did the composites just totally screwed up things, and that was a pain. But you know.
Well, I wish you well in your rest of your. When do you graduate?
I will graduate this May.
So your days are numbered then.
They are. Well, I'm starting my 5th year, so I got an extra year. It was nice. I changed my major twice. So.
Well, who didn't?
Yeah, but now I know what I want to do. I got to spend a lot of time with Mi Beta Psi. I figured out what I want to do in life, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Hope you make lots of money.
I hope so. But we'll see. As long as I'm around people I love.
Are you like all other students? Brian and I were fortunate because I never had to pay this tuition. This big. Did you have to borrow money to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite expensive now. College.
Yeah. Yeah, college is expensive.
And some of those kids have got up to $100,000 behind, just to get through college.
But state is still a good bargain, though.
Yeah, state is a very good deal for very good bang for your buck.
It's about as economical, cheap as you can go to college. So.
I think ECU is the only other public university in North Carolina that's cheaper.
But you'll get a good degree. You'll get a good job. So probably, I hope.
I sure hope so.
Well, that's the neat thing of Mi Beta Psi's purpose within the university was the fellowship for students and for have something for. There was no music major back then when I was when Dad was teaching, so people who had that interest in music, had this group here. I thought that was I thought Psi was more together than other universities might have had a different music major. It's like, wow, what do you guys really like this? Yeah, you guys have a lot of fun.
We used to love to go to Clemson. Had a very active chapter.
Yeah, Delta chapter was always a lot of fun. It was huge. I went down there one year for we had convention there one year. And went down to that, and they were a terrific host. And the Delta brothers were a lot of fun. Delta chapter.
Yeah, I took the choir down. That's one of the groups I had. And they came back the next year. They came up here. We shared a concert, that sort of thing. So they beat the fool out of us in football. They always did for some reason. Clemson ought to be at the SEC. They're that good. They could get along fine in the SEC.
Well, it's always fun when Clemson would come up here and
they did.
A Delta and Alpha chapter would have always get catch up or go get to see each other. That was always a lot of fun.
Textile Bowl, they call it Textile.
The Textile Bowl.
We had one of those this year. It was on Halloween.
They're still doing that?
Yeah, it was on Halloween this year.
Oh man!
Last year. It was really fun. They gave out free shirts and everything.
Wow.
But those are the days you'll remember, those things like that when you get out of school. So,
and there's still a lot of Alpha alumni around Raleigh, so we're all, it's fun staying in touch with a lot of the folks. Facebook was a big help to kind of reunite a lot of people, because before all that, I think I went to one of the alumni chapter meetings, but it wasn't very organized. But now the organization is so much better too.
Yeah, they're trying. Hopefully they can get it more organized. I'd love to see a huge alumni association of all of the alumni that exist and everything. I think it would be really cool.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of people around, and my era, my generation, we're still upright and still alive, and
we keep running into people everywhere, so it's really nice. Just go out to dinner wearing letters and you run into somebody like, oh, hey.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a ton of brothers in Raleigh, in the area. So
you run into them wherever you go. You'll run into your brotherhood out there in the boonies somewhere. And through the years, there's a lot of them around now. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a lot of those inactive or alumni brothers are still involved in music, though.
Yeah, I saw David Rocha, what's his name, Rockefeller the other day. He gave him one of my CDs. Oh, would you like some of my music?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Let me get her some CDs.
There you go. There you go. Get some of your CDs for the National Archives.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's see. Here you got that one's got a picture on it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that was right. That was the thing they did for Dad at church, but it features some of. Well, that's from Springfest. Is any of your choral music?
I wrote everything in that.
Okay, that's just some of Dad's stuff.
This
But
is my instrumental music.
blissful notes.
Yeah.
Oh, look at you. All of this.
And
This is one you were talking about, Nefinofo.
here is the choral music.
Look at you. You've
A
written
lot of the songs
notes.
that make sense of it. So, there you go, with my blessing.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. You've been busy. Yeah, you've definitely been busy writing. Thank you so much.
The choral thing has a lot of NC State stuff on it. So
Okay.
It's stuff the Glee Club
the
did.
Glee Club's on there, and
Okay.
I don't have the red and white on there, and I wish I did. Oh, did we get it on there?
Let me look at Springfest, see what they put on here. I can try to remember. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's on there. Right, this is all the stuff that Dad wrote.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote all.
And I think all these have most of a lot of the Glee Club stuff.
Yeah,
the Glee Club sang.
Starting with
Yeah, Sands of D, The Numb Men, Raven Days, Tower Babel, Varsity Opera, Center Man. Yeah, that's all stuff the Glee Club sang. Or did we do? There's Wildness in God's Mercy, or is that?
no, that's a published piece.
Okay, all right.
It's just a piece that I like to sing. I wrote it. In fact, it was my second piece that I got published.
That's right. That's right.
So you have a little memento there. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. Definitely gonna listen to it too. It's really exciting. I'm excited to listen to the ones that you're talking about too.
Well, Dad has a great catalog of choral music for churches too. So if you know any out there, contact Milton Bliss for something for your church choir.
You're right.
Yeah, and our choir director right now too really likes pieces that are much more.
Well, you wrote a whole bunch of anthems and stuff for Holy Trinity, didn't you?
Yeah, a bunch of them. Yeah, still do.
Holy Trinity Lutheran in Raleigh.
That's where we both are members there, and Larry still got.
Larry still membership. Dad still sings in the choir at church.
Croaking, it's not singing it.
We go to hockey games, and Dad was singing the national anthem. People would go, "You are great. You should be doing this." I know we should.
I can't even do that.
Well, that was years ago. But
I've lost my voice for all practicality.
He still has it.
But it's not much, I'll tell you. It's not like that beautiful instrument I used to carry around. So
Well, your voice has matured.
I'm drinking too many glasses of wine. Is what it is.
It's a win-win.
That's what you're supposed to do when you retire.
Yeah, right. So, but it's been fun. So,
Yeah.
is this going to be shown anywhere? Are you taking it with you to a convention or something?
Or is this just for the archives, or?
It's mainly for the archives. So I'll send it to Nathaniel Kulik, the national historian. We might play at a convention, especially if you're there. That would be cool.
Yeah.
We're thinking about doing convention a little differently this year, kind of having more panel discussions and things like that. So might be contacting you later.
Well,
there you go.
To talk about.
Well, I do appreciate you doing it. And
I think it's neat. Terrific you guys want to do this.
Right.
Sorry we took so long to get this all together.
No, it didn't take very long
You
at all.
stirred the ashes up, and so.